What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail of all the stats of every one of the weapons as well as their variants in Infinite Warfare. In today's episode, we're finally going to be moving on to the sniper rifles and covering the KBS Longbow. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so hopping into the stats for the base KBS, we've got a damage profile of 98, and that is at all ranges, so it doesn't drop off like all the other guns we've seen before. And this means that Suppressor has literally no negative effect whatsoever on the KBS Longbow. Our rate of fire is 52 rounds per minute, which is quite slow. And our multipliers are the best in class. We're going to be looking at the multipliers in a little bit. This is really what affects how good a sniper rifle is as far as its damage goes. It's not so much a damage profile, it's more so the multipliers on that damage. Our aim down sight time is quite slow for sniper rifles at 440 milliseconds. Sprint out time is standard for sniper rifles and quite slow at 360 milliseconds. Our reload add time is 1.95 seconds. Movement speed is 92.5%. Magazine capacity is 6 rounds, and our total starting ammo, including the magazine that we spawn within the gun, is going to be 18 rounds. So overall, the KBS is a pretty standard bolt-action sniper rifle, and there's nothing that really jumps out as far as these stats go. Getting into our multipliers, like I said, this is the part that's really important with sniper rifles because, as you saw, it only deals 98 damage, and therefore, without a multiplier, it's not going to be a one-shot kill. It's going to leave your enemy with 2 health. But when you factor the multipliers in, it takes it over that 100 damage threshold, which means it becomes a one-shot kill depending on the multiplier. So as you can see, every hitbox has a different multiplier. Starting at the head, we get a 2.1 multiplier for the head as well as the neck and the upper torso. Lower torso and arms is going to be only a 1.3 multiplier, but that is enough to take it over that 100 health threshold, and therefore it's still going to be a one-shot kill to the lower torso and the arms. So as you can see here, this is the one-hit kill area with the KBS Longbow in core game modes. Keep in mind, it's a bit of an approximation. It's not exactly where the hitboxes lie, but it's just to show you generally where you can get one-hit kills. It won't be a one-hit kill if you hit him in the hand, or the legs or feet with the KBS Longbow. And like I said, out of all the sniper rifles we have so far in the game, this is the best in class for multipliers. As for the hipfire spread, the KBS is standard for sniper rifles. It's exactly the same as the Widowmaker as well as the EBR in the sniper mode, and it is quite a large hip spread. So you don't want to be running around going for no scopes all the time with this because you're not likely to hit them unless you're completely point blank range. So that covers all the stats for the base KBS, and as we already know, it's a pretty standard bolt-action sniper rifle. It is quite powerful. You can hit them pretty much anywhere upper body, and you're going to get a kill on them. But it doesn't have the fastest ADS time, and it also takes a little bit of time to rechamber between each shot. So moving on to the variants now, we've got quite a few variants of the KBS Longbow, and the first one is a common called the Stasis. With the Stasis, we get the Focus Weapon perk, which reduces your idle sway by approximately 50%. And this is excellent for sniper rifles because in a lot of situations, unless you're really far across the map or your enemy's only exposing a very small portion of himself, you almost never need to hold your breath with this weapon perk. Moving on to the rare, we have the Mirage. This one gives you Scrambler, and with Scrambler, kills hide nearby friendlies from enemy radars. Now this is a very weak weapon perk. We've seen it on the R3K, so I'm just going to show you this clip with the R3K. When you get the kill, a little circle appears around your character on the minimap for just a fraction of a second, and any teammates within that circle will be hidden, but only for the duration that that circle is active, which is a very short duration. So in addition to Scrambler, we also have Presence of Mind with the Mirage, and with this one you can hold your breath infinitely, but you do have to be holding that button constantly, so I actually prefer the Focus Weapon perk, but Presence of Mind is pretty good as well. Moving on to our first legendary variant, we've got the Fortune. This one gives you Gambler as well as Readiness, and with Gambler, every time you get a 3-player kill streak, 3 times maximum in 1 life, you will get a random perk on your class. This is an excellent weapon perk for most guns, although with sniper rifles, I feel like perks don't tend to help you as much as with other guns when you're rushing around and stuff. Some of the perks do, but most of the time you're already going to have those on your class. And with Readiness, you reload 40% faster when your magazine is low. And we did some testing on this. Without extended mags, it will only reload faster if you have 1 round or no rounds left in your magazine. Getting into the second legendary variant, we have the Affliction. The Affliction gives you Glacial, and with Glacial, damage will temporarily slow your target's movement speed, but this only seems to work for a very short period of time. It's about 1 second, and it doesn't slow them significantly. Also, one thing to keep in mind, most of the time with the KBS, it's going to be a one-shot kill, so this doesn't really help unless you're shooting them in the legs. So overall, not the greatest weapon perk on this particular gun, but we also get Lights Out, and with Lights Out, your melee speed is increased by roughly 13% based on my calculations. Getting into our final legendary variant, we have the Bombshell, and with the Bombshell, we get Visor Detonation, which is unique to this gun, at least for now, and with this one, shots to the helmet of an enemy will create a small explosion. So this is really similar to the Biospike. When you hit an enemy in the head with this, there will be a small explosion, and if he happens to have a teammate standing right next to him, it will also kill that teammate. In addition to this, once again, we have Focus, just like we had on the Stasis. It works exactly the same on this gun. We get a 50% reduction to our idle sway. Moving on to the first epic variant to the KBS, we've got the Big Brother. And with the Big Brother, we've got Awareness as well as Stockpile. And with Awareness, we get to keep our mini-map while we're scoped in. With every other sniper rifle in the game, when you're scoped in, you don't get a mini-map. And it can really screw you over. You can get flanked a lot if you get a little bit of tunnel vision, you stay scoped in for a little bit too long, you might not notice some of your teammates dying behind you, and you can get yourself killed. With this Awareness weapon perk, you can avoid a lot of those situations. Also, with Stockpile, this just gives us one extra bullet in the magazine, and it also increases our total starting ammo, including the magazine we spawn with, up to 21 rounds. So finally, for our last variant of the KBS Longbow, we have the Harbinger. With this one, you get Feeder, which reduces your rechamber time at the cost of a slower movement speed, and we get, once again, Focus, which reduces our idle sway by 50%. Now, this Feeder weapon perk can be a little bit deceiving at first. If you see somebody hip firing with this Feeder weapon perk, you'll think this thing has a completely overpowered rate of fire, but what a lot of people don't factor in is aim down sight time. Essentially now, you are only limited by your aim down sight time. Sure, you can no-scope really quickly, but that's just not practical whatsoever with this gun. You do have to get scoped in, so for those quick scopers out there, this does still help quite a bit, but it's not going to be as crazy as you might think if you just see a clip of somebody hip firing as fast as possible. So now I'm going to do a quick comparison. The first clip you're going to see is with a regular KBS Longbow. It can be any of the other variants. And this is firing as fast as possible while still scoping in between every shot. And then the second clip is going to be the Harbinger. Once again, scoping in with every single one of your shots, and we'll compare the difference. As you can see, there's still a very noticeable difference there. I calculated the difference to be roughly 32 milliseconds between each shot. So you save 32 milliseconds between each shot, and that is quite noticeable in-game, and that could save your life a few times. So if you're on the fence about spending salvage on the Harbinger, it does help a little bit, but don't be misled by the clips of people hip firing with this variant. As for your movement speed, it does get slowed down a little bit. It's roughly a 3% slowdown, so you're going to be right around 89.5% for your movement speed. And with that, we've covered every one of the variants so far with the KBS Longbow. It looks like we might be seeing another one coming in the somewhat near future, but I'll be sure to cover that once it comes out. As for which variant I prefer, I'm a real big sucker for Focus on the sniper rifles. I love not having to hold my breath most of the time, and therefore I really like the Stasis just because I have it. It's a common variant. But obviously, the Bombshell and the Harbinger would be a nice step up from the Stasis if you happen to have those or are willing to spend some salvage on those. If I had to choose out of all of them, I would definitely go with the Harbinger. But at the same time, I'm not currently willing to spend 4,000 salvage on that variant. As for my favorite attachments and class setups for the KBS Longbow, I would say Quick Draw is absolutely a must-have on all of the sniper rifles, and Suppressor is always an excellent choice because there's no downside to using it. I personally like the default sights with the flawless reticle. I'm not a huge fan of using like ELO sights or anything weird like that. I just like the default sights, and those are cool with me. And for perks, I use pretty much whatever. I like using Ghost just so I stay off the minimap since I will be using a suppressor. And I really like the Marksman weapon perk with sniper rifles as well because it reduces that flinch quite noticeably. Also, of course, with this gun, I highly recommend having a pistol as a secondary, so if you miss your shot or something and you're in close quarters, you can quickly swap over to that pistol and finish off the kill and stay alive. And with that, we're going to wrap up this episode of Gun Guides. I'd like to know in the comment section below, out of all of the KBS variants, which is your favorite, and what attachments do you like to use on your KBS Longbow setups? For those that are wondering about the Auger gun guide, that will be coming up next. I have kind of put a little bit of a delay on that just because the fire rates have been a little bit weird to calculate, and I've kind of been hoping that the hard stats would come out. but still no hard stats, so it looks like I'm just going to have to do the work and hand test that fire rate. So don't worry if you guys are waiting for the gun guide episode for the auger, it is coming soon, and we're going to wrap it up here. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.